more minutes. Okay, finished.
Oh boy.
Okay. If you go to Google, you'll see that I pulled a page out of the book. Okay. Rather than saying, oh, go to this paragraph and then read down in here, I just pulled it out and I made a page. It says reconstruction, and it says it's an excerpt from the book. We'd like you to read it. It's not very long. Paragraphs, I'd like you to read that.
Hello, my name is Women.
Okay, ready? So those radical Republicans who were voted in 1864 finally take office in December of 1865. And remember, they want to restart Reconstruction. What has Johnson been doing in the meantime? Yeah. No, he's a Republican. Well, he's a Southerner, but he was Lincoln's vice president. Lincoln chose him to be vice president. He chose Johnson. He's in a Republican administration. Lincoln chose him as a way of appeasing those border states because he didn't want them. He wanted to keep them on his side during the war, right? So yes, Johnson is a Southerner, but he's in a Republican administration. And everyone thinks because he doesn't like plantation owners that he's going to be a, what was that? Yeah? Yeah, he does. But I want to get to something about the 14th Amendment. Let's be careful here. Lincoln in the movie says, and then come January 31st, I'm going to sign the 13th Amendment. Just to be very, very clear, the Constitution gives the executive branch nothing at all to do with constitutional amendments. Lincoln said that because he wanted to do it symbolically, okay? And he did. Lincoln actually signed the 13th Amendment. But he didn't have to put his signature. There was no reason at all for him to put his signature, other than as a symbolic act, right? And the same goes for the 14th. It doesn't concern Johnson. The Constitution gives us two ways to pass an amendment. One is 2/3 of the Congress and 3/4 of the states, or conventions in 2/3 of the states and then 3/4 of them ratified. The executive branch has no role at all. But what the Congress does pass is some civil rights legislation, which Johnson vetoes. Yes.
As like a rule, if you're a Republican, you have to stand with the right or in person.
That's been the convention. The only way you can end up with the opposite, or there are two ways you would have a different party for the president vice president. One is that for some reason, two guys from different parties decide that they're going to be running. The other way is if you have an election that's contested, like in 1876, and it goes to the Congress to decide. And the House of Representatives is dominated by one party, and the Senate is dominated by the other party. Because one gets to choose president, one gets to choose vice president. And so if you have a split government where the two chambers are in different parties' hands, that's the only other scenario where you end up with president, vice president. So it's either voluntarily or back. So it's, or unless it turns out that, maybe your president and vice president, Speaker of the House, all get impeached because they have ties to Russia. Then that's a situation where you could end up with some other scenario like that. Where was I? Oh, okay. So Johnson's been, you said, busy vetoing legislation, but then in December these guys show up. Then what? Well, if they have 2/3, if they have a 2/3 majority, they can override his vetoes.
We passed Reconstruction Act, and it dissolves state governments and divided the South into military districts. It doesn't let them back in until they ratify the 14th Amendment, directing Constitution, and follow it.
Okay, that's pretty simple. What happens if Johnson decides he doesn't like it? Now, to be fair, Johnson actually thinks that he's implementing Lincoln's vision for Reconstruction. And maybe he was. And so perhaps the fight that's about to ensue would have been Lincoln versus his own party. You know, the radical Republicans, like we saw in the movie. But instead it ends up being Johnson against these guys. Well, he didn't give specifics, though he did offer philosophical positions. So to the extent that those would have been policy, you kind of see some of that with Johnson, right? Yeah. So let's see. Policy can be a whole bunch of laws that are passed in order to make a policy. So an act is just a law. A bill is enacted and it becomes law. So we usually say act. Policy can be policy might consist of a bunch of acts, or it could just be one. But philosophy is simply a statement of what you believe that doesn't necessarily create the acts there. So okay, I did this in the morning class. I'm just going to get to spoiler alert. Johnson gets impeached. Yes. There have been 3 attempts to impeach
Oh
President.
my god, I'm like a season behind.
Hold up. The first one is Johnson, and we're going to look at that now. The second one is Nixon. He resigns before he can be impeached, and then his vice president pardons him before he can actually be convicted of the crime, despite the fact that there were many. Yeah, one could say that. And the thing about his vice president, Henry Ford, is the only guy to ever hold the office who wasn't actually elected by the people. Do you know why?
His first vice president was Spiro Agnew.
Spiro Agnew was also resigned from office because of a different scandal tied to his time as governor of New Jersey. So this was a doomed administration. So Nixon was also facing impeachment. The Congress had drawn up the articles of impeachment. And then the third occasion was Bill Clinton. They also drew up articles of impeachment. They also put it to a vote. Now, it's interesting how the public reacts, too, because in the case of Nixon, the Republican Party has been damaged throughout the rest of the 1970s. So, you know, the Democrats could have chosen a highly effective, engaging, dynamic presidential candidate in 1976, and instead they chose Jimmy Carter, right? Who they could have run a donkey in 1976, and the Democrats' donkey would have won, simply because the Republicans were in such bad shape. Anyway, we get Carter instead. And so that's how the public reacts to Republicans in 1970. In 1998, here's an important rule for you in our midterm election. Important rule. What is a midterm election? Middle of what? Of a presidential term. So it's the one where the president isn't on the ballot, but the Congress is 1/3 of the Senate and the House. Midterm election.
Is it where people like elect the representatives like in the middle of the term?
Yes, in the middle of the presidential term. So here's the rule. Over the last century, with only 3 exceptions, which I'll talk about, the president's party always loses seats in the midterm election. Okay. You just expect whoever is the president, the people who elected that person are less likely to vote in the next election, and the people who are in the opposition are more likely to vote in the next election. Therefore, it always favors the opposition. Okay. 3 exceptions over the last century. 1934, Franklin Roosevelt was president. It was his first term. The New Deal was so popular, he picks up seats in his party. Democrats picks up seats in 1934. In fact, the Democrats had so many seats in the Congress that the Republicans were down to 10 seats in the Senate. Can you imagine? There are 100 seats in the Senate. 90 Democrats, 10 Republicans. That's what happened in 1930. Right? The other two exceptions. 1998, people were so upset at the attempt to impeach Bill Clinton. They thought that this was a kind of an assault on the democratic institutions, that the voters actually gave the Democrats seats in the midterm election. The other exception happened in the next midterm election, 2002, because September 11th, 2001, and people are endorsing President Bush in handling the situation, and in 2002, the Republicans got seats. The only three occasions in the last century, right? It's kind of a big deal. One of them involved, one of them involved an impeachment, and then the other impeachment actually favored the opposition, and it was the opposition that was their turn to get seats anyway. So that's interesting. How did the people react to the attempted impeachment of Johnson, and why did they impeach Johnson? So my first task for you is we're not really going to do, Skinner has this whole idea that he's going to have the class do this impeachment of Johnson simulation class. I should admit I don't entirely understand what it is. What I want you to do is tell me, here's the thing, what does the Constitution tell us about the reasons you impeach him? Just make sure to not answer my question with a question. I want an affirmative response. How? What reasons does the Constitution tell us? Yes.
Conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors.
Is there a comma in between high crimes and misdemeanors?
No.
The comma is important because if there's no comma, that suggests that the misdemeanors have to go with the high crimes. That's the importance of the Oxford comma. If you insert a comma, then it could be, well, misdemeanors also. What's a misdemeanor?
Is there a comma or no?
I heard a paper at one of the big historians conferences some years ago. The guy who was an expert on the Civil War, he was making the claim that the Civil War was actually caused by a comma. It was quite fascinating. He was talking about all of the compromises, and then he was talking about, I believe it was the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and there was all kinds of chicanery background. And the Democrats inserted a comma into the final wording of the bill that had not been there when it was originally introduced on the floor. Right? So they intentionally altered the meaning of one of the sentences without permission to actually do it. And he said, this caused the civil war. Yeah, very interesting. They're using the Stanford. The question is Oxford using the Oxford? When Oxford retires the Oxford comma, we're all in trouble.
No. Well, what's the difference between an Oxford comma and
The Oxford comma is a type of comma. You and I can fix this later. Anyway, so no comma, which suggests that they can't just get him on a misdemeanor. At least if you want to be liberal about it grammatically and in terms of punctuation. So, what do you suppose if the radical Republicans want to get Johnson on something? What might they accuse him of? They want him out of the way. Bribe? Well, so long as there's bribes, I suppose. I did tell you there was all kinds of, bribing and but it's a good guess that's not to get him on. Oh, Oh, okay, there's a kind of a slope there. Anyone else see treason? What? Well, I'm suggesting if we want to go literally, misdemeanor might be tough just because odds are coming. Any other ideas? Treason? All right, I'm going to have you go tell me on what ground. Look at the articles of impeachment for, look up articles of impeachment, Johnson. And tell me what the Congress did. What do you do?
Fired the Secretary of War.
Johnson fired a Secretary of War. Why is that a problem?
Violation of the tenure of the office.
Oh, so there's a law on the tenure of office in order to protect people who are put into positions by the Senate, because those positions, cabinet positions, have to be ratified by the Senate, and so they're protected under this law. And Johnson fired it. And so, what would they accuse him of then? So he broke the law. He can't fire this guy.
Why don't they just put him back?
Put the Secretary of Defense back?
Yeah. Because the Secretary of War.
Secretary of War. Because the intent here isn't to replace the person. They don't care about this guy being fired. They want to get rid of Johnson.
It says that he was guilty of a high misdemeanor, not a high crime.
Look at that. A high misdemeanor.
But he gives me a high crime.
Well, thanks to drug legalization, highness is now a misdemeanor.
What's the difference between a crime and a crime?
I actually have no idea what the high is. I do not know what. There will be somebody will have a legal definition. I cannot tell you. Oh, it's a misdemeanor at an altitude above 8,000 feet.
They're treated more leniently than
There you go. See, I told you there's a legal definition, but I wouldn't be able to tell you. So, if you drop the articles of impeachment, how does it, what happens then? So they're like, well, you fired this guy, we're going to drop articles of impeachment. Who does the drawing? Where does the trial take place? Who oversees the trial?
The Senate and the Congress.
You do, again, I will get there. I want affirmative statements. Dr. Smith, we know for sure because I have it right in front of me that this is what it is.
Dr. Smith, I know for sure that the chief does presides over 155.
Who does? The Chief Justice. And where is this trial taking place? And we found out, and I told the morning class this story too. For some reason, the media was obsessed in 1997. They were obsessed with the fact that the Chief Justice came in wearing what looked like a graduation robe with 3 stripes on his feet. And everyone was obsessed. They're like, what does that mean? What? Adidas, yeah, there it was. It was, the logo was sponsored by Adidas. The Senate. Okay, what's the role of the House then if the impeachment hearings are done in the Senate but presided over by the Chief Justice? Affirmative statements even.
The House decides whether to impeach or not.
The House draws up the articles of impeachment. So you need both chambers on board here, because the House is going to drop the articles of impeachment, the Senate is going to actually have the trial. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what the procedure is. It just says the Chief Justice will oversee the whole process. And so they get things going with Johnson, and then what happens? We've only actually lost one president who was facing impeachment. That was Nixon before he could be impeached because he resigned. So that means Johnson must not resign. So what happened?
Yeah, there were one vote away.
One vote. What was the vote here? How did that happen?
126 to 40.
Was what?
It says the House voted 126 to 40. And the Senate.
And the Senate what?
And the Senate voted 30.
Yeah, that's not one vote in both cases. So what happened?
I'm gonna say that.
Okay, it is one vote if you need 2/3 of the chamber. Right? So they needed 2/3 in order to actually impeach, and they come up one vote shy. Now, why did they come up one vote shy?
Because Paul likes to make everything
No,
difficult.
that's not allowed.
Oh my God, yes.
Because he is not in the Congress. He's the executive branch.
Maybe not like words.
What do you know?
We wanted to make sure people knew that he was the Chief Justice. It's like they all wear robes.
What?
Were they pinstripes?
Is that what, did somebody write that? It's just, I thought it was silly because if anyone who's been to a graduation with PhDs knows that the people with high degrees have 3 stripes on their robes.
Yeah, I
It's
was.
on lowering-the-bar.net.
That seems like in a totally different.
Yeah.
It's on lowering the bar.
You gotta lower your bar.
Primarily what?
They gotta think.
I assume it's actually a pun, like the bar. The law.
Yeah, that's why they have the.
So why does it come up shy? How come they can't impeach him? Here you have to
But they don't have enough votes.
Google magic. Yes, they don't have enough votes. Why?
One person.
Do you really want to be the person like?
His brother.
No, you guys know you know Hamilton.
No, I
Which
don't.
one?
The musical.
Oh, sure.
What happens to young men who speak too much?
I don't know.
Smile.
You don't think I read that? We never did.
For some reason, a bunch of students in the class know.
They end up at
I'm not
IMSA.
We're getting so much enjoyment out of this academic.
What?
What's happening?
No, I'm just asking the question, how come the vote comes up shy? Why? Well, because they did really well in the 1864 election. No, clearly they're divided in factions, right? There's not complete agreement. But what I want to know is, how come they can't get it? Why does it come up only one vote short? You would think there would be incredible pressure.
What I read, like, it says 7 Republicans, like, they try to save the president because they say that they can't agree to destroy the harmonious working of the Constitution.
They've just been through a civil war, and some of these people are actually worried that a successful impeachment of the president would actually be a step towards doing what the war had not done. And that is actually bring down the democratic process. That swinging the pendulum too much towards the legislature. When is it really that serious that you're going to impeach the president over firing the Secretary of Defense? Sorry, Secretary of War, as they used to call it. Yeah, they changed the name, actually.
Because we're not supposed to make war.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I see.
They intentionally changed it from Secretary of War to Secretary of Defense.
But I was gonna ask, like, when you're talking about those listeners, why do they want you to teach
Because, quoting President Clinton, he said,
I did not have sexual relations.
that's what he said.
We found your DNA on That's a false
Now, there is additional context to that. So, if you, Hillary Clinton had said a number of times over the last 20 years, she says there was a conspiracy against my husband.
Yeah, but she also said
Was
she
it
didn't
her?
delete email.
Now, I get that. And we could go that route. That's not where I'm going. Where I'm going is that there actually was a conspiracy. I mean,
Which one?
there was an actual effort. So, in 1994, in 1994, the Republicans had a landslide in the midterm elections, and they controlled Congress for the first time in 50 years. And they decided that the first thing they wanted to do was to appoint a special investigator, a guy named Ken Starr, which they had the right to do, and that he was going to find something unfair. There was this supposed land deal called Whitewater, and they thought for sure they would get him with this. It turns out that they can't get anything through Whitewater. But in the process of doing those investigations, they unearthed that he had had a number of relationships, extramarital affairs, and more importantly, one of them was with a White House intern who actually told her story to a woman who told the story to the special prosecutor. And then they were able to, tie it back. But this was, when they didn't find anything on Whitewater, they didn't stop. It was the same thing with the Benghazi investigation. There's 6 different hearings. Let's get Clinton on Benghazi. But there was nothing to be found. That was the problem. Absolutely. In fact, and if you do want to go that route, we could look at what Trump has done. Because he made this accusation about Benghazi, but the Benghazi building where Clinton was supposedly in trouble, Trump has not only not funded the place, but they're down staffed, so they don't have any of the security.
The guy's dead already.
What year was Johnson?
This is 1866.
You don't know what that is. You're making a joke. You don't know what that means.
Wait. Oh, yeah.